Joining me now, North Dakota Senator Kevin Cramer, who's also on the Budget Committee. Senator, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for the opportunities. I've always wanted to be on TV with the pride of Minot State University. So
thank you very much. I love Minot. I want to get back up there. Why not Minot? Freeze's the reason.
Come next week.
All right, maybe I might take you up on that. In the meantime, though, let's start with USMCA since, you're from a bordering state. I don't think the general public understands how large this could be because we spend so much time talking about China trade.
Well, it's a great point because I think you're exactly right, and we sort of take the North American continent for granted a little bit. I think because we all get along. We've had this long time NAFTA trade deal. The modernization was very important for northern tier states like North Dakota, where we actually do a lot of regular trading, including with wheat, for example, in North Dakota. The facilitating sort of the reconciling the differences in grading and things like that make a huge difference to our farmers. In fact, we think that because of USMCA, we could double our sales of grains, for example, to Canada. So it's a big deal. But I think, to make the point even further, the passage of USMCA and the momentum it creates are very critical to the extra leverage that President Trump has had with China. And I think if we get that done, that adds leverage to the next deal with the United Kingdom. And it's really an escalating dynamic, I think, for all of us.
In the meantime, there's impeachment. And maybe it's this impeachment drama that helped to hasten the passage of USMCA, because obviously Nancy Pelosi knew she had to get something done. But now there's talk of maybe stalling it, maybe it never getting to the Senate or playing games with it. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, my first thought is, what in the world is she thinking and what is she doing? Because I, for the life of me, can't get in her head and imagine what the upside is for her, other than perhaps an off-ramp of some sort, buyer's remorse, thinking maybe if we just keep it over here, we have impeachment without acquittal. What's particularly odd about it is that the idea that somehow she would, threaten as leverage, not sending something to the Senate that the Senate doesn't want. It's really hard. Let me put it this way. I wouldn't want her negotiating the next trade deal with rationale like that.
Now, we did get bipartisanship on spending, which is something that's not uncommon. Pox on both houses, if you don't, with all due respect. Right. $1.4 trillion. A lot of that stuff, that Republicans generally would really be upset about. So your thoughts on this, and is this the way it has to be from now on? Do we have to spend so much money and go into so much debt just to get any sort of bipartisanship down there?
Well, it seems so far, I've been in Congress 7 years, and I've never really seen a regular order process that they tell me about. However, I would point to a couple of things. First of all, $1.4 trillion is actually $100 billion less than it was 10 years ago. So, and to remember, this is the discretionary side of the budget, and we are not, Charles, going to ever balance our budget on the discretionary side, because that's really now less than a third of the overall budget. So until we really get a hold of the mandatory side of the ledger, and you know what that is, that's Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, the entitlement programs.
But if there's no political will on a discretionary side, certainly those third rail issues, to your point, can never be addressed.
You're right, and it's going to take some very courageous people. Now, I just, a year ago, I was elected, and I was not just glad, but eager to talk about that very topic. The thing is, we have to have more members and candidates willing to be courageous enough to point out the facts that Social Security goes insolvent. Medicare goes insolvent in just a handful of years if we don't deal with it. We have to sound that alarm, never mind the debt issue, but just the insolvency of those important programs, is facing us. Every day that we put it off, it's going to cost us more to fix it. So we just have to have the courage to talk about it.
Senator Cramer, it's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
It's always mine. Thank you, Charles.